Braka. Hope all is well with everybody. It's your soul brother in righteousness. Y'all remember when we showed the video about 6 months ago of immigrants or aliens or people outside of the country coming in, and they found out about squatters, you know what I'm saying, about abandoned houses, and they say, yo, and he was telling all the other outsiders, yo, don't you know in America you can go over and take over a house and put your stuff in it? And he said that they were going to do it. And we said, uh-oh, this is prophecy. Things go haywire. The government is in on it. And of course, you know, as always, people laughed. People thought we didn't know what we was talking about. This guy over here with this science fiction. What they call it? Pseudo teachings. That's what they said. Yeah, you were there with me when they were talking that crazy crap. Oh, Trump mouth monkeys ain't saying nothing now, is they? No jokes, no laughter now, is it? It's a real thing now, huh? And now it got waxed worse when we were telling you to prepare, gear up, get your guns to protect your family. And not start out no all-out war. But this is how the country wanted to gain control and make you a slave. This is what they got to do. Oh, man. Now, ain't that something? You know, like, you're going to tell us we free, but in the same bag the whole time, we not. McNay Martinez, Braca. Let's get down to business, shall we? New York, man. The police getting robbed. They getting bucked at. Well, they've been getting bucked at. You know what I'm saying? But now it's real in the field. And when we was talking these things, we said not even the politicians are safe. Everybody's a trot mouth monkey compared to the government. You are only a sacrifice. So you need to go and get that in your head. All right? That's how these guys think. Corporations say you worth more dead than you are alive. Not only that, they're going to make or have already made copies of you. You remember the teaching in the wintertime of this year? When they did the little Super Bowl, and he was like, I'm just a regular Joe Schmo, man. I ain't no celebrity. He said, I went to the game and saw my goddamn face up there. It was a problem. Ain't nobody paid me no ducats. He was highly upset about that. I don't blame that guy. I'm saying I'm going to a football game, think nothing of it. You know what I'm saying? And then all of a sudden I see Robot Me come out. What the hell? Y'all done made another whole BC? For what? You know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't no Jigga Jay-Z or nothing like that. What's popping? Kathy Calavero. So, all right, it's some strange things going on with the government. The government is an entity, that's all. You know, the world take care of its own. You know what I'm saying? Like, we've been told the truth, but somehow spelled lies been entered into our lives, you know? I'm just being real. Enough of my talking, right? Let's get it.
Officers' car at gunpoint in Manhattan are charged with criminal possession of a machine gun. Police say the two men approached the officer and demanded his keys at West 146.
So a shocking new wave of crime has fallen upon New York City. But although critics are quick to blame the asylum crisis,
officers' car at gunpoint in Manhattan are charged with criminal possession of a machine gun. Police say the two men approached the officer and demanded his keys at West 146.
So a shocking new wave of crime has fallen upon New York City. But although critics are quick to blame the asylum crisis, what nobody wants to admit is that although New York...
Hold on, y'all. There's some glitching going on here. The hell?
New York's laws make it a sanctuary
Let's
for
hit the
immigrants.
reset
They also
on these
make
cats real quick, man. I'm tired
Get
of
a
the skipping.
sanctuary for criminals.
I don't know about y'all,
Strong outrage after yet another
but where I'm at, it shouldn't be doing that. I mean,
video emerges showing police
New
getting attacked
Haven,
by
Connecticut.
migrants.
It happened as they were trying to.
And they bugging the government. I'm saying I'm on Wi-Fi. What the hell is going on here and all this crazy crap? Then it played the same thing twice, and I didn't press rewind. What the hell is that about? Told y'all, man, it be some strange things popping. Y'all ain't laughing at me no more. This is happening to you now. Now you hear people saying, man, I'm on my stream, y'all, I'm live, and it be bugging. There's a lot of people used to laugh at me, thought I was saying anything.
This innovative device
I'ma just make that up
makes it easy
just to
back
run
up
my
your
mouth?
smartphone in seconds.
Not me.
You don't need to be a computer or phone expert.
2 men have been arrested for stealing
Skip here. You know what I'm saying? Let's get it back popping, man. Hell wrong with this demonic principality.
Asylum seekers.
It ain't the laptop or the Wi-Fi.
On motorcycles and mopeds.
So we've seen a spate of some very brazen cell phone robberies that's been attributed to a Venezuelan gang called Tren de Aragua, which has its origins at a prison outside of Caracas.
Anytime you have 3,000 people who are placed in an environment that they cannot work, they have to sit around all day, things like this have the potential to happen.
We waited 7 hours, you heard, all day, all night for him.
This man says Ingolandi likely would have gotten away if not for him and about 6 other people who helped detain him. Crime is now so bad in New York, some are now calling for a repeal of its sanctuary city status. But what nobody's talking about is that even if you take away every single one of the city's sanctuary policies, you're still stuck with a justice system that makes this place a sanctuary for criminals no matter where they're from. A haven, so to speak, for violent gangs to roam our streets on mopeds, stealing phones and purses, where you'll also find open-air theft markets operating in front of the very stores crooks are stealing from, and where if you get in trouble for anything, you can assault the police and be released without bail. Just like the 6 asylum seekers that shocked the nation with their attack on the NYPD late last year, an attack we now know has emboldened every criminal in this city. And we're not just talking about asylum seekers. Over 200,000 of whom have come to New York, most with the intention of obeying the law and starting a new life for themselves. But right now, the city still has a shelter population of around 65,000 people, all of whom were promised jobs, but are now trapped in tiny hotel rooms in America's most expensive city, which is no excuse for crime, certainly, but it doesn't need to be because the justice system here makes excuses for criminals every single time they get arrested. And no matter what crime someone commits, 9 times out of 10, the district attorney's office will drop or downgrade the charges until dangerous repeat offenders are either set free completely or let off with a minor slap on the wrist. But it gets even worse because for months, reports have been circulating of dangerous gangs exploiting the U.S. southern border, using it to infiltrate our city with their underlings, who are now reportedly making alliances with local New York gangs, expanding their criminal empires and recruiting vulnerable individuals from within New York's own shelter populations. But what's most alarming are the latest attacks on police, which keep happening because if the police aren't safe in this city, no one is.
Now, 2 armed men believed to be Venezuelan migrants carjacked an off-duty NYPD officer in Harlem. What's the solution here? How do we stop this surge in migrant crime?
Well, we need to secure the border, Stuart. We need more border personnel.
Did you hear that? We're not going to. Now, whether or not you agree with that statement, one thing's for sure, we've got elevated levels of crime because people don't really seem to care what happens to them after they attack the police. And in this story, 2 dangerous individuals robbed a police officer of his personal vehicle when he was off duty. It all happened at 11:30 in the evening as the officer was sitting in his 2020 BMW, which was black. And the criminals who approached the officer may have thought they were just going through a normal carjacking, which they'd probably done before. Either way, these crooks, they approached the black BMW the officer was sitting in with their weapons drawn, and when the officer tried to draw his weapon, they knocked it out of his hand, disarming him. And then they demanded his keys, got in the car, and sped off into the night. But wait until you hear how heavily armed these thugs were.
Jose Rivera and Jomar Crespo, they're charged with criminal possession of a machine gun, firearm, among other charges. Police say the 2 men approached the officer and demanded his keys.
Did you hear that? These criminals had fully automatic weapons. That is a level of firepower, a force multiplier that puts the entire city in danger that the police may not even be able to defend against. In fact, we're talking about a level of armament that might require a military response. Now, although the criminals in question gave information stating they were from Connecticut, the New York Post has revealed that they are actually recent immigrants from Venezuela. And apparently these guys have tattoos that link them to dangerous Venezuelan gangs. But that's not all. Apparently the names they gave to police might be fake. Apparently they told police they had left their IDs at home, which is pretty convenient since their plan that evening was to go on a crime spree and steal vehicles at gunpoint. But after stealing the officer's black BMW, the car itself was found just a few blocks away from where the robbery happened. They had ditched it, and police were able to track down the vehicle because when it was stolen, inside was one of the officer's Apple devices. So they just pulled it up on one of his other phones and found out where the car was. And after finding the abandoned vehicle on a side street in central Harlem, police were able to find the criminals nearby. And the reason this is so frightening is because even though these people identified themselves to the police, we have no way of knowing if what they told the police was accurate. And that's because apparently before people enter the United States, they have a habit of discarding their identification.
Some, though, are dumping their IDs altogether. I have come across piles and piles of discarded documents on the U.S. side. This is happening before they're even apprehended by Border Patrol agents. Now, the idea here...
Now, look, there could be many reasons why someone would want to get rid of their ID before entering the United States. After all, not everybody who's come here wants to join a gang and commit crime. And many people are under the impression that coming into the country without any ID means you get a clean slate because the authorities have to record whatever you provide to them and hope that you've done it honorably without lying. But apparently this type of system is being exploited by a small minority of people who wish to come here and do something other than live the American dream. There are criminals who have it in their best interest to sneak into the country and make their way to sanctuary cities where they can live for free while living a life of crime by taking advantage of the generous safety net offered to the less fortunate by cities like New York. And they're able to do this because so many people in other parts of the world are living in such dire circumstances that they'll do anything to get into the country. And the last thing they want is for their name to pop up in some database that links them to somebody who they're not, or for their country of origin to be the reason they can't get into this country in the first place. Which is a huge problem because even though most of the people entering the country don't wish to harm us or the police, the next person on our list did something even worse than a carjacking, and they never should have been in the country to begin with.
To be free and flexible and creative was really essential to what I wanted to make, and I didn't find a platform that did that other than Wix.
So here we are in a public park in New York City, an environment that you'd think would be safe because this is a place where people go to relax, they've got their guard down, but sadly New York City's lawless environment now means that places like this could be some of the most dangerous anywhere in town.
Christian Inga is set to face a Queens judge on a slew of charges linked to an attack in Casino Park. Police say Inga is a migrant from Ecuador who entered the U.S. through Eagle Pass, Texas.
So this is an unbelievable story, not only because of the awful deed that was committed, but because of what it took to bring this person to justice. So this story revolves around a recent immigrant from Ecuador who singled out two teenagers in a park the other week, where sadly he attacked them during broad daylight in the middle of the afternoon. But even though this attack took place in an environment many thought to be safe, and even though the teenagers went and got help almost immediately, the perpetrator still escaped from the scene of the crime. And this person would have escaped if it weren't for some incredible detective work by the NYPD, because they were able to obtain security camera footage revealing the suspect's face. And after those images were released to the general public, it didn't take long for locals to figure out who this person was and where to find him. And even though criminals in our city might not be afraid of the police, you definitely don't want to step on the toes of local New Yorkers who are upset with you.
This video shows Christian Giovanni Ingalandi on the ground just outside this deli, minutes after Jeffrey Flores says he spotted him. I come and I just grab him out the store. Flores and others in the neighborhood say they'd seen him at the store earlier and waited for hours to see if he'd return. The group says they used this bell to tie.
Yeah, so the type of justice this person got when the locals apprehended him is entirely different than the way the justice system in New York normally operates. And what's surprising is not only did this person suffer immediate consequences for their actions before being turned over to police, the district attorney is not prosecuting the Good Samaritans who ended up apprehending this person, which sadly happens a lot to local residents of this city when they defend themselves. But once the images of this suspect were released, local residents realized that this is someone who frequented a local bodega, and they decided to set up camp there and wait for him all day. And mind you, all of this transpired a couple of days after the attack took place, before anybody had been arrested.
24-year-old Jeffrey Flores recognized Inga when the NYPD released these clear photos of the 25-year-old riding away on a bicycle.
He really tried to run for his legs, but he couldn't.
Inga was known to buy.
You know, I hate to say this, but in New York City, with our progressive justice system, had the police been the ones to find this guy, and had they been a little rough with him when they brought him in, he may have in fact been released. But since it wasn't the police that he had to deal with, things didn't turn out that way. And people are referring to the locals that caught this guy as heroes of the neighborhood, which they are, and which they should be commended for.
We waited 7 hours, all day, all night for him.
This man, who goes by Forge and didn't want to give his real name, says Inga Landi likely would have gotten away if not for him and about 6 other people who helped detain him.
You know what we do?
You know, if angry New Yorkers weren't more frightening than the police we have here, I doubt we'd be hearing about any of this. But not only did the locals do their own detective work and set up their own sting operation, they were able to hold on to this guy and keep him in one place until the police arrived to take him away in handcuffs. But even though it seems the criminal involved in this tragic story may actually face the justice they deserve, that's sadly not something that can be said about the criminals in our next story, who've not only figured out how to take full advantage of New York's generous safety net, but are using that safety net in order to expand their criminal empires right here under our very noses. And critics say what you're about to see is the predictable result of loopholes being exploited in New York's sanctuary city policies, and also its sanctuary laws that hide and harbor criminals.
So we've seen a spate of some very brazen cell phone robberies in New York City that's been attributed to a Venezuelan gang called Immigrant-Terrorist, which has its origins at a prison outside of Caracas. A number of the gang members escaped in September 2023 when the Venezuelan government raided the prison.
Yeah, that's definitely not great news, and I don't think that's information that's being widely broadcasted. And it's kind of scary, to be honest with you, because we keep hearing about crimes being committed at our border, and we keep hearing about the work that's being done down there, but we don't hear about the crimes that are being committed in other countries, which may have a direct impact on the stuff that our country's experiencing. But to hear that a Venezuelan prison break happened right before our border became overwhelmed does not exactly inspire insane levels of confidence. And although Customs and Border Patrol are operating much like the NYPD here, doing the best they can with the limited resources at their disposal and the limited scope of their mission, is it outrageous to think that the systems we have at the border are not 100% perfect, and that some of the bad guys aren't able to slip through the cracks? And to make matters worse, it seems like the wrong people are doing everything they can to take advantage of a system that's trying to do the best for people who need it. And those would be the people fleeing poverty, trying to leave a dangerous environment and start over. But look at this. The 19-year-old who was arrested just a couple of weeks ago after attacking the police admitted that he had been recruited by a Venezuelan crime gang here in New York with the goal of committing snatch and grab attacks, going after purses, iPhones, and apparently the criminal in this story has one of those tattoos that links him back to this same dangerous gang, which is currently working to expand its sphere of influence here in New York City.
Law enforcement says they are infiltrating cities in the United States and maybe forming alliances with gangs that are already established here. We're seeing the presence of Immigrant-Terrorist in New York City. We're seeing all these brazen cell phone robberies where 2 guys on a moped will go onto a sidewalk in Manhattan and they will steal a cell phone out of the hands of somebody who's actually talking on the phone.
And apparently they are expanding their operations in the worst way possible. You know those mopeds that you see parked out front of many of the shelters and on pretty much every street corner? Well, those aren't just the delivery vehicle of choice or the commuting vehicle of choice for somebody that wants to save money. They are actually the perfect chariot for a criminal intent on stealing something and riding away quickly. And apparently these criminals single out people who are on their phone distracted in a public space where there's room for them to escape after they get their hands on that person's device while they're riding their bike. Individuals walking with their phone in their pocket with their head on a swivel are much less appealing targets than those who are utterly distracted, possibly even wearing noise-canceling headphones. And to make matters worse, we all carry so much information on these little things right here. If this is gone and they take it from me while it's unlocked and I'm using it to talk to somebody, what they could do, they could open this thing up, they could send my money to who knows where, and I'll never see it again. But the real reason this is frightening is because the asylum-seeking gang member who was first busted earlier this year for running a moped crime spree made a chilling admission when authorities got their hands on him. He warned everyone when he was apprehended that this whole gang-related crime problem is much bigger than just him and his little crew that was operating out of the Bronx. And essentially what you have now are operations all over town of people stealing phones and bringing them back to hideouts where criminals use tools to access them if they're still locked before draining bank accounts and selling these phones overseas. On top of that, if the criminals get lucky and they manage to steal a backpack, there may be other valuables inside of it like expensive headphones, credit cards, cash, or even a laptop. But this brings up the real reason why New York is in the middle of a frightening new crime wave. Are sanctuary city laws partly to blame? Well, they certainly don't help. But the real problem is all of these criminals that are getting arrested, a lot of them have prior offenses. And because we don't punish crime in New York, if you commit low-level offenses, like let's say you go out and you shoplift and you steal and you break into the subway and you use that without paying, well, our laws aren't going to lock you up. They're not going to incarcerate you. So you get plenty of practice being a low-level criminal so that when you decide to graduate to the big leagues and do stuff that's really bad, you already have experience evading the police, evading capture, stealing things to make a living off the books. It's a horrible system, and it's the laws that protect criminals that are the real issue. If those laws were tough, people would not come here to exploit our safety net and live lives of crime. But that's exactly what's happening.
So, there you have it. The prophecy said it would be wax worse. The prophecy said wax worse than what caused the flood in the first place. The prophecy said that every man would be lovers of themselves. Nobody would care for one another. The prophecy says that the good will be locked up and the wicked wouldn't be punished. That's what the prophecy says. You ask me, is the scriptures a lie and you live in it? You're blind. Welcome to the ending of the Great Tribulation, my friends. But in the end, what are your soul lives? BC the Tishvite. BC the Ivit. Propaganda. Government agendas. Take down the house. There's no other way to bring down a nation other than to make it go against itself. You know, I believe the prophecy says a house that divides itself shall fall. And when you, man and woman, black and white, and boy and girl, and child and adult, that's division. It's dividing. It's not unifying. In a marriage, it tells you that the man and the woman lay in the same bed, in the same room, they share the same car, so on, so on. I mean, they get their own cars, you know, his and hers or whatever. But it's supposed to be in unison because the minute you divide, the minute you practice that junk like drugs, it's hard to get out division. All right? It's like saying the same thing the world says the new year is January. That's a system. But it's not. They all fools. And spring and nature tell you March ending into April, it's spring. The damn calendar tell you that. So why are we saying New Year in a dead winter solstice? You've been duped. And you really believe that. And it's hard to follow the right system when a bunch of fake crap is all around you. And then they look at you like you weird. Nigga, it's Happy New Year's, really. The grass is brown. They dead, ain't leaves on the damn trees. But this is spring, though, huh? And then they tell you you a fool April the 1st. April Fools. Not that you did a joke. You are the joke. I had to stop that. I'm saying I started living my life right. Forget religion and what some nigga mouth say. I started living this and my whole life changed. It's like, whoa. I really was in a fake matrix. That's why I say that. Damn what the scientists say. I have my own personal experience. You know what I'm saying? Give you mad different interpretations like the dream or a vision. That right there can change the fabrication of your world. That's the same thing you say, speak faith, speak my word, and watch the mountain move. It's the same verb. This world is fake. And if you tune in with the right power, you can make a seed to a tree, an atom to a molecule. Your own book tell you that, man. Stop that. See, when you're not living and experiencing these things, that's when you start looking for trot-mouth monkey men who look like they got it, talking intelligent, but ain't delivered not one molecule of power of soul elevation of the Kairos. I'm sick of these fake cats out here. And the real people getting stepped on, getting looked at like they crackheads or like the scum of the earth. I bet let them open their mouth to the Heavenly Father and Mother against thee and have a case. We'll see your world come down by God's hand. Not that they asked about it. So you got to be careful who you talk to. You entertain damn angels. You entertain God, men and women, unaware. That's more dangerous than a freaking angel, because God don't care nothing about now one of them, including Michael. That's your best one, ain't it? We can start with Metatron, who went upon this earth called Enoch. You can start with that, but you can see that was a soul. See the difference between a spirit and a body, a spirit, soul, and a body? Spirit, soul, and the body be remembered forever. It just doesn't have the physical body. But it be given another body, the body it fell out of. You know what I'm saying? And that's what's called resurrection. Resurrection is to resurrect. So you was already surrected. This is where your Bible says, I saw the Heavenly Father plant the kingdom of God like a mustard seed. Then look at your stars. Then think about a mustard seed. Then think about when the word called you a tree within time. Do you bear fruit? Doesn't sound so much poetic, do it? Doesn't sound like a parable, is it? This is goddamn reality. Wait a minute. Stick your arms straight across from each other. You're a tree. Stand straight up, upright. Those roots called your feet. Your legs is the limbs. I do believe the book of Daniel was talking about that iron would mix with clay. That's going to be our next message. That's right. Humans trying to be cyborgs. But you was already a cyborg because your blood is iron. That's metal. That's an element. You got zinc. You got copper, gold, silver, all within you already. And you're going to tell me that I'm a lie for calling us a bio-disposable, artificial, but yet intelligence because of the faith of God's breath inside of us. Not that we're just awesomely smart. No, we have an investment plan within us called the spirit and the soul. And that right there, friends, you're going to always be whole. You hear me? So I'm going to go ahead and end this. All right. You already got chemical, metal, liquid chemical metals. These same liquid chemical metals we play with in the lab, and then we give it to the military. Go blow them up. Boom, 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 boom. And man, these things cause destruction too. I mean, I might be saying this in the laughter, you know, it might sound funny or whatever, but it's serious. And all of these liquids look like water, like a bottle of water. When we're in the science lab, till you put light to it, all you got to do is put a little flame, little flashlight, LED, it don't matter. Then that mug gonna colorate or solarate. You're gonna start seeing fluorescent, yellow, green, pink, you know, crap you see in your sky about sunset, you know. Some people see straight red all over the world. You know, Orion seeking who he may devour. You know, there's two sides of Orion. There's the God side, and then there's the wicked side. I've been on the wicked side showing you the nebula, the wicked serpents, the seraph, the dodecagons, the odecagons, and the draconians. Yeah. I showed you those things that was men metamorphing as women called the Greek goddesses. Yeah. You know, you got to catch me on YouTube. If you ain't seen it on Facebook. You ain't seen it on YouTube. YouTube, you don't get nothing with anything with doctors and medicine, because Google don't like me, because we prescribe the Holy Spirit. That's exactly why it took 6 pages from me. Yeah. Yep. Surely did. So I have a lot of stuff over there that you probably would be interested into. If you don't have a Facebook, I don't know what to tell you. You know what I'm saying? Because it would never be on YouTube. Those 6 times I tried putting those type videos up there, you know, I got a backup system, and I got in trouble for that's how I know. Certain degrees of nano particles and all of that. Hell no, you ain't getting it on YouTube. Because they fight me. Because we be in the future and I be telling their plans and then their agenda don't work. I'm not the only one. I'm saying, so don't think I'm out here saying like I'm Moses or something and ain't nobody else got it. You know what I'm saying? These things, everybody has their own way of finesse that God has implanted. Your book say everybody got a cup, everybody need to walk their own cross. God don't put nothing on you that it cannot bear. I gave 3 different types of ways of scriptures without playing with them. They literally say that. I you know, sometimes I ain't gonna say exaggerate, because everything I say is true. I just put a little it was Christ. Paul wrote it, and then I had my life and experienced it. And you get my little but I ain't put my on it. It literally says that. Okay, that's the same way. Like a Muslim, Allah Alewah. Christians say hallelujah. We just call it the same guy. All right. I would say, and we say Iya ha Yahweh. Iya is the foundation, which is God. I, A-H, is I. Ahayahwah is love. Look at the word love. It's El-Ahyahwah. That's how it is. We do not supposed to say, ooh, I have agape love. No, I have the great mother, El-Ahyahwah. So his name, Iyahwah, is the founded father, I, of the great mother. Any questions? It's not just his name. It's the family name. Get it right. I'm a Yahusha light from Iyahurel. You might say Jerusalem. No, it's not. Iyahusha lam. Your soul in Yahuwah, founded in the I am. Never forget the words of what heaven said, not man. For I do not walk by sight. I walk by the hearing of the power frequency of the great I am and the greatest holy mother upon the face of all universes. You ain't beating her, because the Father played it out that way. Now, are you going to go against his word? Because this is not Brother BC talking to you. Ishe, Shalom, Braka.